Hi, and welcome back to That's Entertainment, the weekly entertainment show where we look at all the interesting entertainment news from last week, this week. The big story I want to cover is about the changing way TV and VOD audiences are being tracked, and exactly what those changes will mean for the industry. Variety recently reported Nielsen's decades-old track record of measuring the TV business was dealt a serious blow after an industry organization decided to suspend its backing of the company's national rating service. The TV networks alleged earlier this year that Nielsen changed protocols during the coronavirus pandemic, resulting in an undercounting of the TV audience. While Nielsen has pledged to rectify the matter, the networks have not been satisfied. Both the TV networks and Nielsen are grappling with an increasingly complex issue: how to measure TV viewers who no longer rely on watching TV shows in the traditional fashion. As more consumers migrate from linear TV experiences to on-demand binge sessions with their favorite streaming outlet, tracking them has become a tougher task. Advertisers are considering different barometers of success as well, and Nielsen's main strength lies in determining how big the audience was for a particular commercial or show. But as crowds for media splinter around a dizzying array of new behaviors, size matters less. A new coterie of digitally savvy marketeers has expanded in recent years, and the group is interested in isolating their most likely customers and counting how many visits they make to a website or showroom, or how many movie tickets they purchase. So the big news is we're going to be moving away from brand across the agency space. So instead of buying impressions and trying to get awareness and focusing on sort of top funnel level indicators on the health of a campaign, like video views, the progression or the evolution of the agency space will then start to now look at things like ticketing and performance. And this is something that Groovy's been focused on for a long period of time. In fact, we work regularly with Nielsen when we work with Viasat across Central Europe for their TV shows. One of the key things we've noted is that if for any of you who are unfamiliar with the way that the TV model is actually currently set up for linear TV, the advertising is sold prior to the show being launched. And then Nielsen have, in each of the countries that they operate in, a certain number of families literally sitting there with a Nielsen cable box and remote control in their household. And anytime they want to watch something on the television as part of the license fee being waived for them, they have to input on this special remote control who's watching in the room and, select the channel that they want to watch, and that data goes then back to Nielsen. It's a sample of the population. It's a forced behavior because, again, if you're just wanting to watch something on the TV, you might not necessarily input the right data onto the remote control, and therefore the session will be logged incorrectly. And this is basically the core way that we've been measuring the success of TV for the last, God knows how long, 20, 30 years. And as I said, the advertising is sold by the linear TV channel prior to the actual show being released. So then what happens is the advertiser and the channel look at the Nielsen data to see who's actually logged in, and they take an estimate as to whether or not the show has been a success. And then depending on what's been negotiated in the advertising contract, if the show has performed poorly, there's some kind of make good issued by the channel at some point in the future, maybe reduced rates in advertising for future campaigns with that particular brand. Anyway, very messy industry, very messy reporting, very top level stuff. And in actual fact, when you look at what data sets Amazon and Netflix have, you can see why the Nielsen data is relatively weak in comparison. But there is no Nielsen for tracking across the VOD platforms. So we're missing the wider picture in terms of consumer behavior. Each VOD platform is their own island of data. We don't know what's going on in each one of those. Occasionally Netflix releases some information about a show that's done particularly well, but then you learn as much from the bad experiences as the good experiences, and that data is no longer available with anyone apart from these individual islands. So Nielsen has a massive catch-up game to play. And it could be eyeing, the likes of these larger tracking companies like Whip Media Group, or maybe Real Good, the app in the US, which has a lot of users, as a proxy again for what people are tuning into. Interesting space, something that we would be very interested in developing our own tools like Houston into, which you'll be hearing more about in the future. But just an interesting aside from what's going on outside in the industry with all this news. According to a report in the Hollywood Reporter, the studio's unhappiness with Nielsen's aged process is nothing new, and Disney has been increasingly concerned with inaccuracies and irregularities in Nielsen's data. Viacom CBS is very disappointed with Nielsen's complete lack of accountability for drastically undercounting TV audiences. Even before the suspension, NBC Universal put out an open letter to the industry calling for a new system of measurement and put out a request for proposals to more than 50 analytics firms, Nielsen included, to design a more modern system for the streaming era. The solution, in my opinion, is some kind of TV guide. And that's why I think TV Time, the Whip Media Group app, which is international, or tools like Play Pilot or Real Good are going to be incredibly interesting as potential acquisitions here, because you have these apps that cover all the shows in a particular territory, both from a linear TV and VOD perspective. And these offer the ability to show insights into how users are feeding back on the show once they've watched it, but also the intent to see a particular show can also be captured by things like how many times people interact with that show within that app's user experience. So if Nielsen's really serious about improving their rating systems for the new TV environment, then I think an acquisition is probably in order with one of these major applications. Matt Voda, CEO of marketing analytics firm Optimine, was also critical of what Nielsen have to offer advertisers today, telling the Hollywood Reporter, ad buyers won't tolerate a lack of a standard. It's too inefficient, and the marketplace needs a standard currency to be effective long term. New standards will emerge because of the need for transparency and buying efficiency. The industry needs a common way to keep score. Variety also highlighted the limitations of Nielsen in today's home viewing marketplace when they took a deeper dive into the potential repercussions of the decision. It throws into sharp relief how many new kinds of viewing Nielsen is still trying to figure out how to monitor, such as the football game watched via a mobile device, the playback of a cable movie via DVR more than a month after it was recorded, a binge watch on any popular ad-supported streaming hub, or even the sampling of a new program on a cable network that is too small for Nielsen's ratings to apply to it. According to Tim Hanlon of the Vertier Group, a consultancy that works with media and advertising companies, this only speaks to the crucial need everyone has to find an alternative or at least supplemental data to prove who is watching. Marketers are demanding stuff like attribution and outcomes and a return on investment and butts in seats. Nielsen, frankly, is almost an impediment. The decision comes at a time when viewers continue to turn away from the traditional TV in ever-growing numbers and towards streaming video, according to Lichtman Research, as reported by the media player News. 82% of all US households have at least one SVOD subscription, and 53% have 3 or more services. The mean number of SVOD services among all households is up to 3.1, and 27% of households are now reporting having 5 or more VOD services. 78% of domestic households subscribe to either Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, and/or Hulu, and 41% of all adults stream one of those services daily. Moviegoers are aged between 18 to 34 years of age, account for 41% of the adults using SVOD daily. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. We always appreciate hearing feedback from all the people that follow us on LinkedIn. Thank you very much.